माननीय मंत्री जी,
Thank you, Speaker, sir. I thank all the honorable members who participated in this discussion on the budget. Honorable Speaker, sir, you rightly said more than 80 members have spoken on the budget discussion. The last few days you've held it, even if it was late in the night. The members' enthusiasm in talking about the budget and getting into some details actually has motivated me that the interest in this year's budget, like last year's and the previous years as well, has been not just cursory. People have gone into the details, and therefore it gives me greater motivation to reply. And of course, as things stand, and this is subject to correction, I'm also given to understand that nearly 45 members of parliament have given their written speeches. Sir, I would have actually started off with the budget all over again in terms of some very distinct features which are there in the budget. But I'm very tempted to take it off and start from the first speaker of the opposition. And that is only because, of course, I'll be answering many of the questions that he's raised, but maybe because he wanted to sound a lot more interesting about the budget, his criticism started off by saying, Amrit Kal over the next 25 years, today the people of India are facing Andhkal. Kyunki a very senior member of the House starts saying that this is not Amritkal, it's Andhkal, I thought we should just go over that a bit more so that members would also know what probably is running in his mind. Sir, there certainly was an Andhkal in this country. But that Andhkal was thanks entirely due to the Congress. And I list out a few things why no one of us can disagree that Andhkal that was. Start with the fact that in 1991, we had foreign exchange reserves only for 2 weeks. उससे पहले emergency का काल भी हम सब जानते हैं. So Andhkal that was. Andhkal again in 1991, when you couldn't manage your foreign exchange, you didn't know what to do. And then, because you were trying to bring in reform, you also claimed we brought the reform, whereas that was under compulsion, like one of our members, honorable members mentioned it. That was Andhkal. Again, double-digit inflation, sir, during the 10 years of UPA. I will get into some of the details a bit later also. And when we are constantly talking about inflation and the government is explaining itself as to what is being done in order to contain what today is being suffered by people all over the world, but that's no excuse. We are responding to the situation in India. Double-digit inflation during UPA 1 and 2, particularly in 2, was Andhkal indeed. And that's the Andhkal probably he's referring to. Third, coal scam. Every day there was headlines in the papers about corruption, 2G scam, Antariksh Deva scam, middlemen everywhere. Country didn't know what's happening. Every morning it was dreadful to see the paper with yet another scam. That was Andhkal, sir. And not knowing how to deal with the country after the global financial crisis, inflation touching 2 digits, and also the situation, macroeconomic fundamentals all going either udar, India became one of the fragile 5. That was Andhkal with policy paralysis. So, Andakal, if he's referring to his own period, government's period, and from the memory. Whereas what we have created today is a situation where common man feels that he's received the benefits from the government, that which was promised over the decades, and therefore entering into the next 25 years towards India at 100 would be certainly the Amritkal that all of us are referring to. And why do I say that? Jan Dhan Yojana brought in financial inclusion for all Indians. And today, I can say there are 44.58 crore accounts. And in those accounts, which were made fun of, saying this is zero balance account, how can you have accounts where there's not going to be any balance? There are 1.57 lakh crores as deposits in those Jan Dhan accounts. And Jan Dhan accounts include 55.6% women's accounts. So the coverage of man, woman, and the coverage of rural, urban, everything is taken care of when we are talking about Jan Dhan. So that is the first footstep towards moving towards financial inclusion and moving towards Amritkal. Third again, 44 unicorns have successfully been identified in this country, and they've created wealth. They've also become the new showcasing of India's talent and innovation, and this has happened between 2020 and 2021. 20 crore women were given during the pandemic 500 rupees directly by the click of a button in DBT format, and the monies went into their accounts, and therefore this again is true inclusion and inclusive development. 2,000 rupees again was also given to farmers, and that gets given every now and then. So annually 6,000 rupees for sure goes into their accounts. This is actually leading towards Amritkal. Swanidhi Yojana, more than 33 lakh loans amounting to 3,407 crores have also been sanctioned, and more than 29 lakh loans amounting to 2,989 crores have been disbursed, and this covers poor street vendors who otherwise wouldn't have had a chance to enter the bank to claim credit or loan. They've been covered, indeed leading towards Amritkal for our country. Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, sir, 3 crores of houses have been sanctioned, of which more than 2 crore houses have already been completed in this country. And therefore, Amritkal, it will be from now for all these people leading towards India at 100. Every village in India has been electrified. And therefore, talking of Andakal was their time, whereas now you have fantastic lit villages. In every village, every house has got electricity. Jyoti reaching homes. Piped water connection through Nal Se Jal scheme has also been reaching people. MSMEs have received 13.5 lakh MSME accounts were saved due to the ECLGS. 1.5 crore workers have been saved from potential unemployment, and 1.7 billion people have been given free vaccination. If all this is not going to lead towards India at 100 and Amritkal, what else could? So therefore, I want to just respond to senior leader Shashi Tharoorji, truly recognize when Andakal was and what we are leading towards India at 100 is actually Amritkal. And in that, the budget this time has stated quite a few things which are going to be leading towards a building of modern India, a 21st century India. First of all is the PLI scheme, where 20,000 crores have been announced, and this is going to be for the thermal power plants, which can be now looking forward to reduction in carbon dioxide. I'm only naming a few, sir. You have 100 PM Gati Shakti cargo terminals, which will all be developed within the country, and this is going to help in movements of goods and services and also increasing the exports from this country. 4 major multimodal logistic parks are also being established in this country, which again is going to be better for exporters and bring in greater logistic convenience. Urbanization, like many of the speakers have recognized, urbanization is being given high priority. Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities are all going to be ramped up for the facilities which they need. Capacity building commission is also going to help us in plan. And this is not just going to be business as usual, it's going to be a paradigm shift in the way in which we deal with building our cities. Sir, there are many more such announcements which we have made: digital education, digital university, digital banking. You're going to have district level banks which are going to function completely with digital facilities. The central bank is also going to be issuing a digital currency, which I've made an announcement. And more than that, animation, visual effects, gamings and comics in which our young are experts in. We are creating a committee which will look at the possibilities of bringing in various facilities and the framework which is required so that we can be able to produce good gaming and comic through the digital and visual effects through the digital media. 5G, sir. 5G services will also generate new employment, and for that we are also providing the necessary ecosystem. So, in all the budgets, sir, drone technology, which will be of great help for the farmers, is also something which we are giving a lot of importance for. Halo India, Fitness India for the young are all giving high priority for the youth of this country. There are going to be 1.5 lakh post offices in the country, which will also be more than just post offices, which will have all kinds of banking service facilities. Those who have Sukanya Samruddhi account and PPF account in the post office will also be benefiting from these services. E-NAM is something about which we've spoken. Startups have been given a lot of encouragements, but particularly for startups to help in agriculture, bringing in value addition. We've taken a lot of steps towards that. So I'm not getting into every announcement that I've made in the budget, broadly indicating that we have a clear plan to take all sectors and their development in our mind and move with that intention in the next few years. So, but then one important point which we shouldn't lose sight of. This global crisis, the pandemic, has been one of the absolute rare events in the last couple of 100 years. Even the Spanish flu didn't probably get recorded for the devastation in economy that it created. I would say for India, this is probably the fourth contraction in the GDP triggered off through an international event. 72-73, India saw a contraction in our GDP purely because of the global oil crisis. 79-80, again a contraction in GDP, and this was because of the Iran-Iraq war. After that was the global financial crisis in 2008-9, again a contraction, but none of this was negative. They were all reduction, remaining in the positive territory, but reduction, substantial reduction. And 2008 and 9 also saw it because of the global financial crisis. But what we saw because of the pandemic in 2020-2021, which led to a contraction of 6.6% negative, was one of the worst ever that we could face, and we were not alone in it. All over the country, all over the world, indeed, economies suffered because of such a contraction. But what I would say, no country had any comparator. They couldn't have anything before them to compare what they could do now, what resulted now, with something else which happened before. However, in the recent memory, if we were to look at a global economic crisis, which also had an impact on Indian economy, it was the global financial crisis. I'll just like to do a comparison between what was the economy then and what was our solutions for that, and what is the economy now and what solutions we gave for this one. Sir, in a way, the global financial crisis resulted in a reduced gain because it wasn't a negative growth. It was still a small growth, but it was a constricted growth. The reduced gain in the GDP was 2.21 lakh crores in 2008 and 9. Compared to that, the lost GDP now is 9.57 lakh crores. So that is the extent to which we have lost in this pandemic compared to the recently, meaning a decade ago, the global financial crisis. That resulted in 2.212 lakh, whereas now the reduction was far more, it is 9.57 lakh crore. Despite, sorry? I'll tell you. So despite significant supply side disruptions, India's CPI inflation, I'm picking that up for a minute, was 6.2% in 2020-21 as compared to 9.1% in 2008-9. Look at the intensity and the scope and the depths to which Indian economy had to contract. We lost 9.57 lakh crores worth in this global financial crisis, whereas the loss earlier, which is the global financial crisis, was 2.12 lakhs crore. But the CPI inflation now, because I'm purposely bringing this, because CPI inflation is the index with which we measure how prices affect common man. It's the consumer price index. Now that contracted only 6.2 now. Whereas for a smaller contraction, which was not even a negative contraction in the global financial crisis period, the inflation, the CPI was 9.1%. What does it mean? That today, in spite of this intense crisis, in spite of the reduction in the GDP to the extent of 9.57 lakh crores, the CPI is well contained and it is only 6.2%, showing that we have managed the economy much better now than it's easy to say now, than a smaller crisis of that time when the contraction was only 2.12 lakh. And that led to 9.1% inflation. The CPI was 9.1%. So it's very, very easy to constantly keep throwing at us inflation, price rise, kya kar rahe ho? Yes, I agree. There is a need for us to do more. That is why we are importing more edible oils. We are removing the restriction on pulses to be imported and so on. But with a smaller reduction in GDP, with not a negative reduction in GDP, still the inflation couldn't be controlled by the UPA government, whereas Prime Minister Modi ensured that it will not cross 6.2, whereas that was 9.1 that time. A common man is affected by CPI, sir, not the WPI. So let us not go on mincing words to constantly keep throwing it at us. You please introspect. Sir, Honorable Speaker, sir, India's current account deficit surplus. All right, sir, India's current account surplus. Current account surplus, sir. Sir, the entire treasury branches heard every comment. And as much as possible, I don't say that I was here 24/7. There were times when I had gone on. and my honorable member of Minister of State was here to take care of everything which is being said. So when I've come here to reply, I would request through you, sir, some patience that they hear my answer. They may be satisfied, they may not be satisfied, but kindly hear. I know some of the members who have thrown wild allegations also have gone away. They are not here to listen to my reply. It is really disappointing. Sir, India had a current account surplus of 0.9% of GDP 2020-21. अब की क्राइसिस के समय हमारे करंट अकाउंट सरप्लस में थी और वो भी 0.9% में थी. मगर 2008-9 ग्लोबल फाइनेंशियल क्राइसिस के समय यूपीए का करंट अकाउंट डेफिसिट में था और वो भी 2.3% डेफिसिट. तो इतना बड़ा क्राइसिस, पैंडेमिक इतना बड़ा, जीएसपी हमारे जीडीपी कॉन्ट्रैक्शन इतना सिवियर, और हमसे बार बार बोलते हैं क्या कर रहे हैं. सीपीआई को मैनेज किया, करंट अकाउंट सरप्लस में रखा. तो हमारे मैनेजमेंट के ऊपर जरा पॉजिटिव नजरिया से भी 1 मिनट देखने का मैं आंकड़ा बोल रही हूं, मगर ना, हम वो सब नहीं देखेंगे. सर, अभी परसेंटेजेस के बारे में प्रेमचंद्रन जी और ऑनरेबल मेंबर्स पूछ रहे थे. इसी कंपैरिजन में परसेंटेजेस भी आपके सामने रखना चाहती. सर, 2008-9 और 2021 रियल जीडीपी ग्रोथ परसेंटेज, सर, सर, ग्लोबल फाइनेंशियल क्राइसिस इंसिडेंटली 2008 सुनने को पसंद नहीं है तो ग्लोबल फाइनेंशियल क्राइसिस का नाम याद रखिए. रियल जीडीपी ग्रोथ का परसेंटेज का फिगर बोल रही हूं सर. 2008-9 में 3.1% था. हमारा कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हुआ 2020-2021 में, जो उसका नंबर मैंने एक्चुअल नंबर बोले, -6.6 हमारा एकदम नीचे गिर गई, -6.6%. मेरे तब +3.1, वो भी कम ग्रोथ में नहीं हुआ. ग्रोथ अच्छा ग्रोथ नहीं हुआ, जस्ट +3.1. कोई एक्चुअल नंबर्स में 1 मिनट पहले मैंने बोला. तो 3.1% कंपेयर्ड विद आज का हमारा -6.6. नॉमिनल जीडीपी ग्रोथ उनके समय में 2008-9 के समय में 12.6%, मगर हमारा नेगेटिव -1.4%. सर, ऑलरेडी मैंने बोल चुकी हूं 2.12 लाख करोड़ का उनका रिड्यूस्ड गेन हुआ, फिर हमारा 9.57 लाख करोड़ तक नेगेटिव गिर. मगर सीपीआई इन्फ्लेशन 9.1% एट दैट टाइम, 6.2 इन आवर टाइम. कंपेयर करके देखो कि सीपीआई कहां था. करंट अकाउंट बैलेंस जो मैंने पहले बोला -2.3% उनका, हमारा 0.9 प्लस में था. फॉरेक्स रिजर्व्स, फॉरेन एक्सचेंज रिजर्व्स 252 बिलियन उनके समय ग्लोबल फाइनेंशियल क्राइसिस के ऊपर, हमारा 579, नेट बोल रही हूं, टच 650 बिलियन करोड़ US डॉलर्स. एफडीआई फ्लोस, एफडीआई इनफ्लोस उस समय 8.3 बिलियन, और हमारे समय अभी 80.1 बिलियन एफडीआई इनफ्लोस. सर, 1 मिनट, हमारे परफॉर्मेंस इस पैंडेमिक के समय और ग्लोबल परफॉर्मेंस को एक बार देख लेंगे. इंडिया एस्टिमेट ही बोल रही हूं, -7.3 एस्टिमेट, वो करेक्ट हो रही है अभी. 2020 में -7.3%. ये वर्ल्ड इकोनॉमिक आउटलुक का प्रोजेक्शन है, मैं सिर्फ वो नंबर ले रही हूं, करेक्ट नंबर नहीं बोल रही. 2021 में, जबकि हमारे प्रीवियस साल में -7.3 था परसेंटेज जीडीपी हमारा ग्रोथ, 9% है 2021 को, इस साल हम 9% में कंक्लूड करेंगे। और 2022 अभी आने वाले अप्रैल 1 से आने वाले साल के लिए 9% हमारा ग्रोथ है प्रोजेक्टेड। 2023 अगले साल के लिए 7.1% है, ग्लोबली फास्टेस्ट ग्रोइंग इकोनॉमी अभी भी, आने वाले साल भी और उसके अगले वाले साल में भी ग्लोबली फास्टेस्ट ग्रोइंग इकोनॉमी का डेटा कंपेयर करेंगे यूएस से, यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका से। -3.4 जब वी वेर -7.3, मतलब कम हिट हुआ, ज्यादा हिट उनके ऊपर नहीं हुआ। उनका 2021 का जहां हम 9% में है वो 5.6%। रिकवरी भी धीरे चल रही है उनका, हमारा रिकवरी अच्छा चल रही है। आने वाले साल में 22 में जहां हम 9% है वो 4% है। नहीं, वो कंपेयर करने के लिए क्षमता रखना चाहिए सर। जब डेटा उनके मन में जो विचार है उसके अनुसार नहीं है तो मुझे चिल्ला चिल्ला करके मेरे आवाज को दब करने के लिए कोशिश। सुनने का क्षमता मैच्योरिटी दिखता है, अगर सुनने का क्षमता नहीं है, यू नो व्हाट आई वांट टू से। सो यूएस में ग्रोथ जब -3.4 हुआ, हमारा -7.3 रहा, हम 7.1 में ग्रोथ कर रहे हैं। Oh yes, we'll correct. Don't worry, we'll do that. अदेव जी आपके नेबर है, हम क्यों भूलेंगे। सर, यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका मैंने शुरू किया बोलने के लिए, जब उनके गिरावट -3.4 में था, इस साल 5.6, आने वाले साल 4, अगले साल 2.6 के रिकवरी का पेस देख लीजिए, हमारे से तुलने के बाद आपको समझ में आएगा। सर यूरो एरिया, पूरे यूरो एरिया का 6.4 -5.2 इस साल, 3.9 आने वाले साल और 2.5 अगले साल। मैं इस कंपैरिजन को क्यों दिखा रही हूं? डेवलप्ड कंट्री हो, इमर्जिंग इकोनॉमी हो, हमारे जैसे एक ही मतलब साइज में छोटा इकोनॉमी नहीं बड़ा इकोनॉमी हो, इन सब का ग्रोथ और इन सब का पैंडेमिक के समय गिरावट, इस सब को कंपेयर करते हुए गिरावट हमारे बहुत ज्यादा हुआ, मगर रिकवरी भी उतना ही पेस में हम आगे बढ़ रहे हैं इस साल, आने वाले साल, अगले साल भी। बाकी सबका रिकवरी इतने फेस में नहीं है, चाहे वो डेवलप्ड हो, चाहे वो इमर्जिंग हो, चाहे वो छोटा इकोनॉमी हो, कंपेयर करते हुए सबसे फास्टेस्ट रिकवरी, सस्टेन्ड रिकवरी हमारा हो रही है। तो आई जस्ट वांट टू हाईलाइट दैट सर। सर
एक मिनट, अगर देश प्रगति कर रहा है तो अपन क्यों विरोध करें?
सर, हम इस पिछले साल भी और इस साल भी ये पैंडेमिक का इतने इफेक्ट होने के बाद इकोनॉमी कैसे रिकवर होगा, कैसे इसको क्या क्या तरीके में से हम, हाउ डू वी रेस्टोर द इकोनॉमी, इसके ऊपर बहुत हमने चिंता सोच विचार किया। बेस्ड ऑन दैट सर, आई एम बेसिंग ऑन एन आरबीआई एस्टिमेट। आरबीआई का ये एस्टिमेट था सर, सरकार के द्वारा इफ यू स्पेंड 1 रुपी व्हाट विल बी द मल्टीप्लायर इफेक्ट, मतलब इफ यू स्पेंड 1 रुपी उससे कितना फायदा आपको मिलेगा, और उससे जितना फायदा मिलेगा उसके अनुसार आप खर्च करने में सक्षम डिसीजन, अच्छा डिसीजन रहने के लिए उपयोगी रहे. So RBI's estimate is, if you spend 1 rupee on revenue expenditure without creating assets, खर्च करने के लिए पैसा अगर आप देंगे, 1 रुपया अगर खर्च करेंगे रेवेन्यू एक्सपेंडिचर में, का मल्टीप्लायर इफेक्ट होगा 45 पैसा. मतलब पूरे के पूरे 1 रुपया का 1 रुपया रिटर्न नहीं मिलेगा, आधा भी नहीं मिलेगा, आधा से कम 45 पैसा तक ही आपको मल्टीप्लायर मिलेगा. इसीलिए रेवेन्यू में खर्च करने में 45 इस साल मिलेगा, आने वाले साल में उसके कारण और 10 पैसा मिल सकते हैं. The sense, if you spend 1 rupee, immediately this year you will get 45 paisa worth returns or multiplier, and next year you may get an additional 10 paisa more. So it's not going to be 1 rupee for every rupee. It will not even be 50 paisa this year. So it is no point if you spend that money on revenue expenditure, because the multiplier is limited. It's less than 1. RBI's estimate again says that if you spend 1 rupee on capital expenditure creating assets, the return or the multiplier effect will be 2 rupees 45 paisa even the first year. Multiplier effect will be 2 rupee 45 paisa, and additionally the next year and the year after, another 3 rupees 14 paisa will get added to it. So, for every public taxpayers' money that we spend on capital expenditure, building assets, building public infrastructure, this year itself you will have 2.45 as multiplier, and the next year you will get 3.14 paisa, 3 rupee 14 paisa. Therefore, we thought public taxpayers' money being spent in creating assets gets us better returns, better multiplier effect, and therefore we chose to spend on capital in infrastructure building. Okay, infrastructure building, public expenditure, we are borrowing money to do, but we are also ensuring that revenue expenditure is rationalized. I want to convey and put it on the records of this august house that revenue deficit as a percentage of GDP of the government has shown visible decline because it doesn't give you the multiplier that you want. I want to highlight and show that in 2020-21, it is 7.3, which is actual, whereas the BE for 2021-22 is 5.1, sir. 2021-22, RE is only 4.7. And 2022-23, we have put in the BE 3.8 only. Normally, anybody who's looking at budget preparations and budgets of the countries will understand it's highly difficult, very, very difficult to reduce revenue expenditure. But we have shown that without hurting much, revenue expenditure has been rationalized. I just want to put this one on record, sir. Sir, now, in a way, I will respond to members of Parliament who have raised issues. On that, I'd like to give clarification or respond to the questions that members have raised. I'll first start with several members questioning the GDP growth projection. Members have said the real GDP growth rate mentioned in the budget speech and the economic survey are different. There is a mismatch. Many members said that. But I just want to say, sir, for 22-23, the projected growth in the economic survey is 8 to 8.5%. They've given a band. The economic survey gave a band of growth which is 8 to 8.5. The estimates of RBI are different. As they are doing their own projection, their estimates are slightly different. Now, with this projected growth rate, to arrive at a nominal growth rate figure, you will have to top it up with the deflator. GDP growth rate in the budget projection, sir, 22-23 was based on the advanced estimates of the NSO, which is given by the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. That is a different strand, so their numbers will also be slightly different, but the trend and the number largely are in the same level, the same sort of quartile. So the difference by itself does not account for too much, except for the fact that the advanced estimates based on which we projected the figure of GDP growth in the budget was prior to the Omicron. What we have done is we've also taken the Omicron into consideration and used that figure, and therefore the budget projections are looking at 22-23 a nominal GDP of 11.1. So there is no difference, there is no much worry if the numbers are different. Economic survey takes it from one source, we from another. All of us use our deflators, and roughly they are about similar ranges. So the about WPI, there was a voice which was raised. Of course, that's in double digit, whereas CPI has been remaining in the range, and therefore we expect to have about a deflator of 3.5%. So that clarity I just wanted to bring to the notice of the honorable members who spoke about mismatch in the two GDP growth figures. Sir, I'll come to this topic which most members did raise concern, unemployment. Members quoted from the speeches and mentioned that only 60 lakh jobs are being talked about. So that was only for one of the schemes for which we said this scheme, because of this scheme, there will be about 60 lakhs. And that is the PLI scheme. So that doesn't mean that's the only scheme in which we are looking at generating employment. First principle is the employment generation be a natural outcome. I'm just saying this to start with. I know members are waiting to pounce on me because I've said this line. Understand the context. Because just for PLI, when I said 60 lakh jobs, it was presumed, I'm not faulted at, presumed conveniently, saying that's all is the job you're creating. Not at all. In that scheme, in general, when we're talking of high growth, in general, we are spending on infrastructure and looking at railways, roadways, building of multimodal transport, logistic hub, inland waterways, power generation, renewable energy. Are not going to happen without jobs. Latest periodic labor force survey, which Adirji also referred during his speech, indicates that urban unemployment rate in January to March quarter of 21-22 has declined to pre-pandemic level of 9% after peaking to 20.8% during the first wave, April-June quarter 2020-21. So employment data, which is being given by the same periodic labor force survey which Adir Ranjan Chaudhary ji mentioned, I'm telling you the figure, urban unemployment, I'm repeating here. Urban unemployment rate in January-March quarter of 21-22 has declined to pre-pandemic level of 9% after peaking at 20.8. So in November 2021, we saw a net addition in the EPFO, and their net subscription, newer, meaning net subscription makes up for those who have gone away and those who newly have come in. Net addition to EPFO subscription saw a peak at 13.9 lakh new subscribers, an increase of 109.21% over the previous year, and the highest in any given month since 2017. So that's about employment, where again, member Abdul Samad Samdani, IUML, Mr. Arif, CPIM, Dinesh Chandra Yadavji, JDU, Bhartruhari Mehtabji, and Sashi Tharoorji had spoken about unemployment, so I'm giving you some also, sorry, Farooq Abdullaji also. Sir, reduction of Manrega. The Manrega is a demand-driven program. As and when there is demand, through the supplementary demand for grants, we give the additional required amounts, but we have not reduced from the BE compared to BE. The amount has remained same, and it is this government which, having given in the BE 64,000 crores in 2020-21, raised it to 1,11,000 crores for Manrega. So, when the demand comes, we give them the monies which is required for keeping the Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme. I just want to quote BE 21-22, 73,000 crores. RE increased to 98,000 crores and BE again 73,000 crores. There is no reduction, and this is a demand-driven program. As and when the demand comes, we will be giving it. It's never been head down. Sir, this issue of Manrega, again, Abdul Samad Samadani, Sri N.K. Premchandran ji, Kalyan Banerjee ji, Sudeep Bandopadhyay ji, Bhartruhari Mehtab ji, Ranjit Reddy ji, Sri Muralidharan ji, Farooq Abdullah ji, Kahir Ahmed ji, M.K. Raghavan ji, and Professor Saugata Roy. Also, Sashi Tharoor ji. So all of them had raised this. The estimates which have been mentioned, sir, are always the best estimates, and they are subject to also changes as and when the demands come, which I've already said that. So there was this concern about social welfare schemes are getting reduced allocation, which is not true again. I'll just give you an indication in lakh crores. SC, PE 21-22, RE 21-22, PE 22-20. That's the sequence in which I'm reading. Scheduled caste 1.26 BE 21-22, RE 1.4, where it was 1.2 BE, PE 22-23, 1.42. Higher than the BE of last year, higher than the RE of last year. That is about SC welfare. ST welfare. Again 21-22 BE, RE, and then BE of 22-23. 0.8, 0.87, 0.89 lakh crores. Not reduced at all, on the contrary. I've explained CPI inflation. I've explained the breach of beyond 6.9, 6 points had happened only 1-2 months, not before. That I've said earlier also. Even now I'm saying compare the inflations where we were talking about double digit. And actually I should give you the figures to say, in spite of that, BE numbers were big. One character which all of us should understand of the UPA government. Every time, I wish I had the number with me. I have it for a few criteria, but I'll show it. Every time the BE will be a big number, the RE will be half of it. The next year BE will be based on the RE of last year, unachieved. Continuously. So, because I've come into that topic, I'll say this. Look at what has been spent 2013-14 for health. UPA, 2013-14, 37,330 crores. What was actually spent? 28,662 crores. They'll put big numbers in BE but never utilize it. And then now we'll say, all right, but what about inflation? All right, what about actual? All right, what about the RE? Keep shifting the milepost. But someone please answer from the UPA. Why do you put big BEs, and end of the day, at the actual stage, you find not even half being spent? And this was health in 2013-14. Now, what have we done? BE, where it was 37,330 crores, we are doing 89,250 now, 2022-23. So, inflation, no inflation, what is the comparison, madam, sir? Again, education. Education, I'm sure quite a few of you all are very keenly interested. What was the amount in 2013-14, sir? B, big number, B, 1,06,201. B, what was RE? 71,322. Will somebody ask them as to where did it go? Why did you have to put so much of an amount in BE and couldn't even spend it in RE? Whereas what are we now saying? I'll go to the year in which the actual is available. Actual is available for 2020-2021. हम compare करेंगे हमारे BE हमारे actual के साथ. हमारा BE क्या था? 99,311 crores. What was the actual spent? I can hear whispers of lower. Come to the actual. 84,219. 1 लाख लगा दिया, खर्च 71,000 ही हुआ. हम लगा रहे 99, मगर अचीव किए 84,000. उनके एक्चुअल से ज्यादा हमारा खर्च हो रही है. So please, I'll give you everything that you want. Actual number में कटौती है जी. Okay? Sir, like that I can go on giving numbers for every one of them. SC, ST I just mentioned, sir. So I'll come for that also. 2013-14 में scheduled tribe scale 24,598 PE. 2013-14. No cherry picking. आप पिक करो जी चेरी. आप चेरी पिक करो. आपके रिकॉर्ड इतना खराब है, आप जितने भी चेरी पिक करो अच्छा नहीं मिलेगा. शेड्यूल्ड ट्राइब्स सर, शेड्यूल्ड ट्राइब्स के लिए मान लिए स्पीकर सर 24,598 बीई में और एक्चुअल में 22,000 ही उपयोग में आया 2013-14 में. हम 89,265 बी में दिए. 24 कहाँ है, 89 कहाँ है? शेड्यूल्ड ट्राइब्स. शेड्यूल्ड कास्ट में आएंगे 41,561 13-14 में बीई. हम क्या कर रहे हैं अभी? 1,42,342 हमारा बी. So, SC वेलफेयर हो, ST वेलफेयर हो, प्रश्न पूछ सकते हैं बार बार. Hey, what have you done for SC? What have you? Number speak, sir. चेरी पिकिंग आप भी करो. एक भी चेरी नहीं है आपके बास्केट में, सब कोयला है.
2GB है थोड़ा सा. 2GB है.
2GB है. 2GB है.
कॉमनवेल्थ भी है आपके पास, करो कॉमनवेल्थ का चेरी पिकिंग. 2G स्पेक्ट्रम है, कोयला है, कोयला.
सर, ऑनरेबल स्पीकर सर, माइनॉरिटी वेलफेयर के ऊपर प्रश्न पूछा गया. आई लाइक टू आंसर दैट. एंड द मेंबर्स हु आस्क्ड अबाउट दिस आर MIM's इम्तियाज जलील जी, RF जी फ्रॉम CPM and Abdul Samad Samdani ji, UML. The allocations for minority affairs. PE 22-23, which is now on the table of the parliament, 5,021 crore, which is 16%, 16% increase over the RE. RE of 2021-22, sir, was 4,346 crore. उससे बढ़कर के BE में ही हमने 16% का बढ़ोतरी की. Okay? Outlay for education and empowerment of minority girls. इसके ऊपर भी बहुत प्रश्न आया, मैं उसका भी जवाब दे रही हूँ. पीई पहले RE 21-22 इस साल जो खत्म होने वाली है उसमें RE 1215 crores, whereas the BE is 1382 crores. अमाउंट बढ़ गए 1200 से 1300 तक. सर बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग है सर, ये सब बजट स्पीच में बोलना था और लंबा चौड़ा भाषण दे रही हो आप 2 घंटे का, वो भी बोल दो. अभी भी मैं बोल रही हूं सर, मेरा स्पीच इस बार 1.5 hours हो सकता है, मगर पूरे बजट के डॉक्यूमेंट्स में ये सब है. मैं रेस्पेक्टफुली कहना चाह रही हूं, मेंबर जो बजट स्पीच में कहना था बोलने वाले, जरा बजट का डॉक्यूमेंट्स पूरे आपके ईमेल में पहुंचा हुआ है, डॉक्यूमेंट को देख लीजिए, उसमें थोड़ा अध्ययन करिए, फिर आकर ये बात बोलिए. बजट स्पीच में हर विषय बोल दिया तो आपका क्या है, अध्ययन करने का मन नहीं है, क्रिटिसाइज करने के लिए तैयार है, थोड़ा अध्ययन करो. सर हेल्थ के ऊपर एक और मिनट में एक बात रखना चाह रही हूं. हेल्थ का बजट कम हो गया है बोलने वाले के लिए जवाब, 2019-20 में 64,000 crores, 2020-2021 में 80,000 crores, फिर 21-22 RE 85,915 crores बढ़कर आ रही है. 22-23